Women don't care about you. This is a lesson you guys need to understand, okay? Is that women were never designed to care about you as a man. They really cared about themselves. Might have cared, it seemed like they cared about you in the moment, right? While you're together, of course, right? You're a team, you're there together, but as soon as that relationship was over, it was almost like she turned into this different person. Like you were just obsolete after that, right? You were suddenly obsolete. Like one time you were Mr. Popular, now you're obsolete, right? You're expendable. You just don't matter to her anymore. Why? Because she moved on to the next sucker, didn't she? This is why we call women hypergamous, because they are, right? They constantly monkey branch to what we call the BBD, the bigger, better deal. The guy with more money, the taller guy, the more successful guy, the more handsome guy. They will constantly monkey branch to that dude when you are no longer doing it for her, okay? And hopefully the sun doesn't go out before I knock this coaching video out. But this is a tough lesson for a lot of guys to hear, right? Is that women don't care about you, because a lot of these guys were raised on the blue pill Disney fantasy that women do care about you. No, man, they care. You kidding me? They care. I mean, one of my own family members, one of my nieces, who's like in high school, was like, "You're crazy. You're crazy. I saw that video." I'm like, you're a child. You don't know anything yet. Plus, you're female, so you'll probably never learn this lesson. But you will behave this way as you get older and treat boyfriends this way. You will basically demonstrate exactly what I'm talking about here. Is that women don't care about men. They don't. And I mean, you can see this even in their voting pattern, guys. In women's voting patterns, historically, right, since women were given the right to vote back in the 1920s, we call it women's suffrage. They've had the right to vote now for the last 100 years. The good part about that is we have a lot of data, right? We have a lot of data with women's voting patterns. And if you look at women's voting patterns, you will see that overwhelmingly in the last 100 years, women have voted for nothing but more entitlements for themselves, more programs for themselves, more free stuff for themselves. Basically everything's about themselves. Whereas if you look at men's voting patterns, men predominantly over the last 100 years have not voted for more free stuff for themselves or more entitlements and, spending for themselves. Instead, they voted for programs and policies that will help not just themselves, but everybody in the community, their fellow countrymen, their country, period, right? They're not just voting for what they want. No, they're voting for everybody. Everybody. They want everybody to be okay, not just themselves. So even in voting patterns, and the data is clear, women vote very selfishly, right? They vote very selfishly and emotionally, for that matter. Yeah. So I was going to make a point that, yeah, statistically, if women were not allowed to vote ever again, you would never see another Democrat elected ever again. How funny is that, right? And I'm not Republican or Democrat, by the way. I think I'm against the establishment, the matrix. I'm against these establishment politicians that are basically swamp creatures, and they're not doing what's good for everybody, but really just enriching themselves, through war or other types of frivolous, reckless spending. But regardless, I don't want to get away from the topic, right? Who knows? True, like inherently, intrinsically, women cannot care about you, right? They put themselves first. And that's okay, by the way. That's okay. They should, because, from an evolutionary standpoint, that's what they were wired to do, was put their needs first, right? Because they needed to protect the children. They needed to protect themselves. They needed to stay alive. Where we as men are hunters, right? We could just go out and kill and hunt and maim and survive. We could take care of ourselves. But for these women, they could not do that. So of course, yeah, they put themselves first, which is why, now, fast forward thousands of years later, thanks to evolution, women just don't care about anyone, but themselves. They don't care about the men, right? And this is why, again, if we go back to statistics, almost 80% of women file divorce from their husbands, right? 80%. If she has a college degree, that jumps to 90%. So we're talking 80-90% of women filing the majority of the divorces out there. And as you guys know, just based on my content, based on the statistics, women don't just leave their guys. They always have another dude lined up, right? They will stay with their guy, selfishly stay with the guy for company, you know, money, you know, resources, whatever, until the next dude comes along. It's happened to you. It's definitely happened to me, right? And, you know, you can't be bitter over women about this. This is just how they roll. It's okay, guys. It's okay. But this is how they are. But now, does this mean that you shouldn't care about women and, you know, two wrongs make a right? No, absolutely not. Because we're men. We're not wired that way. We are wired to care for women, right? We are wired to protect women. We are wired to, you know, make sure that, you know, provide resources for women. And that's just the nature of the beast. But you have to understand the rules of the game before you start playing the game. Because a lot of these guys get involved with these women, then they find out they don't go, oh, you don't care about me, you're jumping to some Chad. And then they freak out, they like abuse their woman or they kill their woman or whatever. And then they end up on True Crime Daily, right? You know, they end up on like doing life in prison, you know. But if they just understood like, hey, this is how women are wired, this is how we are wired as men, this is just, you know, this is just how biology works, then it wouldn't be such a big deal. But if you think for a second that like your girl actually cares about you, and if something happened to you, she would just live the rest of her life and with your memory and never move on, you're mistaken, right? Or if you're with your girl now and say you started, you lost your job or you started failing at life and you needed to lean on her a bit, if you don't think that chick would lose respect for you and then ultimately just leave you one day, you're mistaken. Right? So yeah, you have to understand that. And this is I'm not even get into the part that women can't love men, because even in the Bible, there's not a single verse that says women, you know, women love your men. No, it says that men, we need to love our women, but there's nowhere in there that says that women should love their men. You know why? Because the Bible is always ahead of the times, and it knew even back then, women cannot love men, right? They just can't. Which means that ultimately she can't like care for you. You know, she can't really care about you without putting herself first, right? You have to understand where you are as far as priority goes. You're not up here, you're like really down here, right? Because if the bigger, better dude comes along, guess what? You know, you could be toast if you're having problems in your relationship, right? Whereas most guys, even if they're having problems in their relationship, they will stay. I've seen a lot of unhappy guys stay in marriages just because it's easier, just because it's convenient, just because he's grown to love his wife, right? I see a lot of guys that might have met their wives and they kind of weren't sure about her, or maybe she started out as a side chick, but within time she started to win him over, and he was like, she's a good woman, I don't want to leave her, I'll just stay. And they stay. Whereas women, not so much, right? Because if some dude comes along, like I said, you know, starts at her job and he's taller than you, better looking, more successful, says the right things, and more charming than you, yeah, your days are pretty much numbered. And if not, you're going to start walking on eggshells, and she's going to start picking fights with you, looking for little things you do wrong, little things that annoy her that she could use to justify the fact that she's about to monkey branch to the next guy. Right? That's just the way it is, fellas. I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, women don't care about us. They care about themselves, man. Change my mind, right? Change my mind. And any of the women that will attack me for saying that, and any of the women that have attacked me for saying that in my other coaching videos, the reason why they're attacking is because they know it's true. Otherwise, why would you be triggered by something like that? If you don't think it's true, why would it bother you, right? Why? The reason it bothers you is because you don't want me teaching that to other men. You want me to shut up because you want other men to stay ignorant and uninformed so you can continue to pull your scam over them. But that's not what the red pill is about. The red pill is about awakening men, not putting them to sleep. As I've often said, the purpose of my channel is not to guide sheep. It's to awaken lions. You feel me? All right. So that's what I have to say for tonight's coaching video, man. As always, gentlemen, drop your comments below. Let me know if there's anything you'd like to add, anything you'd like to share. Please drop them in the comments below, and I'll see you there in my comments. Until next time, this is Matt Cross,
from Alpha Male Secrets, signing out here with my Lamborghini